In 2018, the United States surpassed Russia and became the largest oil-producing country in the world, and it has held its #1 spot since then, with no signs of slowing down. This, of course, has not made climate activists happy. They demand that people should just stop oil for the sake of the climate, but fulfilling their demands would be a very foolish decision. Because the United States producing more oil is actually good for the environment, and it should produce even more. Let me explain why. This is a graph that shows the density and sulfur content of selected crude oils on the X and Y axis, respectively. It may come as a surprise to many, but not all crude oil is equal. Blends that have a low sulfur content, 0.5% or less, are considered sweet, and blends that have a high API gravity, 31 degrees or higher, are considered light. Light sweet crudes are the unicorns of the petroleum industry that everybody wants and will pay a premium price for. One of these unicorn blends is West Texas Intermediate, a benchmark for global oil production. There are several reasons why West Texas Intermediate is so important. This oil contains some of the lowest amounts of sulfur. Consequently, it produces relatively low amounts of greenhouse gases, like sulfur dioxide when extracted and used. It's extremely efficient to extract and refine. And last, but not least, it is abundant. All these factors have made West Texas Intermediate make up the vast majority of oil produced in the United States. But despite that, the amount that's produced is not enough to meet the demand. So the United States is still forced to import roughly 45% of its oil from other countries. The following countries were the largest suppliers of oil to the U.S. in 2021. Canada supplied the lion's share, followed by Mexico, Russia, Saudi Arabia, and so on. Most of the oil supplied by these countries tend to be extremely high in sulfur, high in impurities, and so dense that at room temperature they behave more like solid and smell like rotten eggs. Extracting, refining, and transporting these heavy sour crudes is significantly more harmful to the environment and to the people actually doing the manual labor on the oil fields. Importing only light sweet crude to the U.S. isn't a good option either, since it's more expensive than heavy sour crude, because when processed, it yields a higher proportion of high-value products, such as gasoline and diesel fuel, as opposed to lower-value products like asphalt and marine fuel. Secondly, light sweet crude is still a fossil fuel and requires stringent environmental standards to ensure worker safety and to prevent things such as oil spills. The American government, through the EPA, is quite good at enforcing these environmental standards, but the same cannot be said for most others. Even a democratic country like Canada has been criticized for not properly enforcing its environmental protection laws, and the U.S. can't really force them to perform better even if they wanted to, despite the two countries being close allies. And if the U.S. can't influence its northern neighbor in this matter, then it certainly cannot force OPEC to do anything. Which brings me to my next point, OPEC and national security. You might have heard of OPEC. It's the world's largest organized cartel consisting of 12 leading oil-producing countries. Collectively, they possess 80% of Earth's proven oil reserves and produce roughly 45% of global oil output. Since their formation in the 1960s, they've used their market dominance to manipulate the rate of oil production in order to maximize their profit and to influence the global supply of oil as a geopolitical tool. It is a cartel, after all. They're capable of using their leverage to exert pressure on other countries to give them what they want. Even the United States is not immune to OPEC's overwhelming influence and its overwhelmingly mediocre oil, since roughly 20% of U.S. oil imports come from OPEC countries. Case in point, the 1973 oil crisis, when OPEC, led by Saudi Arabia, imposed oil sanctions on the U.S. and its allies for supporting Israel during the Yom Kippur War. The consequences of those embargoes are still felt to this day, and the 1973 incident is only the most famous example. There is plenty more where that came from. Reducing reliance on OPEC and their mediocre oil is very much in American interest. The sooner America stops being addicted to pumping trillions to other countries for its oil and replaces it with domestic production, the better things get environmentally, economically, and ethically. That is all. Thank you for watching.